What is going on, beautiful human? Ryan Magic here, and I'm so psyched to talk to you about the core method. The core method. What is the core method? Well, you're about to find out. So, this workshop I designed to help give people their power over fear to be able to live their most incredible dream life, fulfilling life. And I'm going to use this video with me to just essentially messily riff on legitimately what is this, so you can discern, does this feel aligned for you to come and participate in? And there's no plan for this video. I'm just going to riff on it all. So let's do it. I have spent a long time in this space. I've coached over 1,000 coaches. That was my main business in the past. And I got to witness coaches in all sorts of different modalities, all sorts of different philosophical maps of the world, and to coach them and help them organize their intellectual property into what they were going to offer to other people. I've been in personal development for around 15 years, and I've spent over $750,000 doing courses, learning from mentors, going to retreats. I've read a ton of books. I've really immersed myself in this space. And I found myself, though, having some really awesome short-term optimization in different areas of my life, but never being able to sustainably integrate all that life has to offer. And if you're anything like me, if you're anything like me, you want to have it all. You want it all. You want to have epic confidence. You want to have deep inner peace. You want to have an awesome purpose. You want to have financial freedom, time freedom. You want to meet your soulmate and have an incredible connection, an amazing love life. You want to be super healthy and optimize for energy and longevity. Like, you want it all. I get it, because you're like me. This is why we're in this space. However, in order to have it all, where do you start? Where do you start? Do you do breath work? Do you do cold water therapy? Do you do deep emotional healing work? Is that the way to approach this journey? Have you done a bunch of that stuff and realized, well, even though you're feeling a bit more connected to your emotions, you weren't making money in business? If you're like me, you've kind of struggled to integrate it all. And this is where I found myself a few years ago. I essentially, in a nutshell, grew up deeply shy and insecure with two suicidal, drug abusive parents, and grew up with a very low sense of self-esteem, very shy, super anxious, and essentially grew up with the addiction of trying to be successful to prove that I'm worthy of love. Deep toxic shame. And so when I was 13, my mom left, didn't see her for a few years. I was in with my dad, which was super abusive, moved back in with my mom. She kicked me out of home because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've had a tough life, and I've essentially had to use personal development to learn to function, which just meant that I've spent a lot of time studying it, embodying it, etc. And what I found was, initially, I used all of personal development to build success. I was 21 when I started my first really successful business. I'd had successful businesses before that, 10 different businesses before that. But this one at 21, I started it, and within 10 months, I'd made my first $1 million as an entrepreneur in one business. Then I built it into a multi-million-dollar personal development empire where we had 25 full-time local staff. We had over 250 clients in a $20,000 program. I was running retreats around the world. Everything was going great from a success perspective, but I felt deeply alone and insecure, and I realized I was trying to prove myself to the world. So I kind of did the success thing, was feeling very unfulfilled. In fact, it actually broke me down. And I ended up shutting that business down to learn to love myself without success, because I was conditionally feeling love for myself and worthiness. Shut it down. And then I went on a spiritual journey. 90 minutes average meditation for 5 years straight, a day. And learned a lot about deep Vedic wisdom. Vedic wisdom is yogic wisdom. It's the Bhagavad Gita, it's the Ramayana, it's the the oldest body of wisdom, spiritual wisdom in the entire world, probably outside the Australian Aborigines, if you want to count that as like a body of wisdom. But there's a lot of intellectual study in it. And I've spent close to 60 days in retreat learning about this wisdom. And it's the same wisdom that Jay Shetty has studied. That's what all of his content and wisdom is about. He spent 3 years as a Vedic monk, right? So I did that. And then I found myself learning to embody and embrace fulfillment and peace in the moment. I could feel full without needing any external validation, any other success. But something still felt like it was missing, because I wasn't making money, that much money. I wasn't really serving that many people. And even though I was like mastering my inner experience, with the lack of integration, it was missing a lot of fulfillment. And I still felt like something was missing. Then I started to do deep emotional work, deep healing work. I've been in over between 500 and 1,000 deep emotional healing sessions with all sorts of healing modalities, plant medicine. I worked with a psychotherapist for 18 months doing just a real simple, basic inner child work. And then I've done a lot of advanced inner child work modalities. If you go to my website and you check out all the different modalities I've got experience or I'm certified in, breath work, meditation, there's internal family systems, there is trauma informed teaching, somatic release work, emotional release work. There are so many different modalities, NLP, matrix reprinting. And all of these different modalities and deep inner healing work left me feeling really anxious, actually. I still felt like something was massive, was missing. And then I kind of integrated back into business and made massive success. I made $100,000 in a week and did all these crazy different things. And the entire time, it still felt like something was missing. I was struggling to tie it together, because when I was doing my emotional healing, I was lacking confidence. When I was feeling confident and driven, I was struggling to connect and like have a healthy relationship. And then I'd have a healthy relationship, but it wouldn't last long because I was disconnected from my spiritual practices. And it's like, man, how does this work together? I'm sick of struggling with this integration. And so I sat in ceremony with myself, with no substances, just myself. I might have done some breath work and meditation, but I just asked for help. I called upon my own intuition, done a lot of intuitive work as well in my time, called upon my intuition, and the message came through. I got given the message which informed the last 3+ years of my life. Ryan, you're going to create your own modality, personal development modality. And I was like, modality on what? What am I going to create a modality on? It's completely separate to the guidance, direction, alignment, vision, ideas I had at that time of what I was going to do. But then I asked for more information and I got the download. It's going to be centered around courage. And I was like, a modality on courage. It's pretty simple. You take action even though you feel the fear. And I realized it wasn't that simple. And over the last 3 and a bit years, I've spent, I don't know exactly how long, but hundreds of hours, if not thousands, fleshing out and fine-tuning this modality called the CORE method. CORE, C-O-R, is the Latin root word of courage, and it means heart. And I realized a simple solution to living your most empowering and fulfilled life by developing a set of capabilities, understanding a key group of frameworks that go all the way from what is the meaning of life to how do you navigate feeling completely dysregulated in the moment. And it all integrates in and in a way where there's a whole map of understanding that I teach in this workshop that will put you in a position where you'll never be confused in personal development again. You'll never find yourself going, oh my gosh, I just learned this modality. That's different to what I've been doing. Where do I find myself within this? You get it. You'll get the meaning of life, the purpose of life. You understand and be able to find your own purpose. You understand what to do in every moment you're feeling stuck. You understand how to integrate the physical, emotional, and spiritual layers of reality. I know these are big claims, but it's a big modality that I've essentially, similar to the iPhone, how it's like so much technology and innovation has gone into creating something that's really easy to use. That's essentially what I've been setting the intention to create in a way of approaching life. Because the core method modality is not like family constellation therapy, where there's a set of practices that you do and it's helping you with deep inner healing. It's a way of integrating life, and you understand when you come there. And if you decide to join the workshop, I'm going to share my screen now. This is like a almost completed landing page for that you're watching this video on probably, but I've got a point here. Where are we? Here we are, the workshop structure. This is a rough structure. I'm very intuitive with the way that I run things, but day one, understanding the entire landscape of the personal, spiritual, philosophy and theory. It's about understanding the creation of the universe, life, death. It's understanding everything. And I was feeling pretty curious to see how I would go teaching that level of in-depth philosophy in one day, because it's a culmination of at least 70 to 80 entire days of learning that I used to develop and integrate my understanding of life, the purpose of life, and everything to do with personal and spiritual development, and putting it into one day. And I did it, and people got it, because my genius zone is making things palatable and understandable, taking complex things and making them simple. And this is incredible. This first day, it's heavy, it's difficult to get through because the brain kind of explodes. But as a context set for day 2 and day 3, it's so important. So on this first day, I'll be teaching the containment of the entire personal development landscape into one body of theory. This is the core method. What's the purpose of life? You'll be learning how spirituality, material success, confidence, peace, adventure, life, death, all integrate into one simple perspective. Day 2, we go to how to live free from fear. And this is a bit of theory. The first day is all theory pretty much. Second day is theory and practice. And the third day is practice and integration. The day 2 is about how do you approach navigating every single day for maximum growth and fulfillment. I'm teaching a model called the Core Compass, which is incredibly in-depth to learn, but when you learn it, it's incredibly simple to execute. And it makes any moment you're feeling stuck easy to navigate. So you'll be putting courage into practice and doing deep healing work necessary to connect with your fears that are blocking your power. You'll also be learning how to leverage your intuition. And this is something and everyone is intuitive, but you can cultivate and strengthen your intuitive superpower. And then day 3, it's all about orienting to purpose and fulfillment, your vision connected from your heart, and how to bring your vision into life. So if I scroll back up, the main key that I want to kind of bring to this page is that the only thing that blocks you getting what you want, I'm actually going to stop this. We don't need that. The only thing that blocks you getting anything you want in life is fear. And most people are scared most of the time. And if I ever say that, even suggest that someone might be scared in a moment ever in life outside a coaching scenario, people always go, oh no, I'm not scared. I'm just blah, blah, blah. But think of it this way. We have 2 aspects to our consciousness. We have our survival brain, and we have the aspect of us that wants to go out there and achieve our dreams, right? We have those 2 things. That's why we're in 2 minds. Sometimes we're like, well, I want to go and make my dreams come true, but I don't want to leave my job because I'm scared. Well, I want to go and talk to that girl, but I don't want to get rejected. I want to have an awesome body and like feel really strong, but I don't want to go through the pain of blah, blah, blah. I want X, but I'm afraid of Y. I'm afraid of why. And what we don't understand is that that aspect of our consciousness, our survival brain, is running the show most of the time. I call it head hypnosis. Tara Brach calls it trance, being in trance. But we are unknowing. If you're still in a job that you don't like, you're in head hypnosis. Simple as that. Fear is put you in a position in your life where you're not where your heart wants you to be. Your heart's calling for you to move in a direction that's meaningful and fulfilling. If you're not on that, if there's things that you know that you want to do in your heart, but you're not doing them, you're scared. That's it. It's not a bad thing. Everyone is. Everyone on a biological level, an anatomical level, we have this thing that goes along our spinal column called ganglia, and it houses clusters of nerves that either orient to our sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, or our parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest. Now, if you're in rest and digest, you're having like love hormones released. You're feeling peaceful. It's a subtle state to be in when you're in rest and digest, but that's the birthplace of fulfillment and freedom and growth and challenge. And this is where we go. We actually go and do the aligned things in our life. Like Joe Dispenza says, the sympathetic nervous system, he calls it the animal, is not a place for change. That's not a place for change. If you're in fight or flight, all of your body's resources, and the point that I'm getting to right now is that we have 3 times the amount of nerve clusters in our ganglia, which is where we release either stress hormones or love hormones. It's what determines and regulates our nervous system. We have 3 times more, roughly, slightly under 3 times more sympathetic nerve clusters than we do parasympathetic, which means that it's David and Goliath. Our system is set up to have us stay alive more than it is to have us thrive. We still have the old technology of the amygdala, the animal brain, that is running the show for most people. And most people, even me as a predisposition, even though I know this stuff, it doesn't mean that my amygdala just goes away. It doesn't mean that within my ganglia that I don't have 3 times more fight or flight than I do rest and digest nerve clusters that are kind of pulling me to be scared so that I avoid change, because that's what that survival brain wants. It wants us to stay safe. It believes that we stay safe in the familiar. So everything that we do in life, I've got an itch in my throat and I don't have any water with me. Oh, I got a little bit. Every single thing that we do in life gets filtered through our mind that's attempting to have us avoid things that are dangerous. And so most of us being completely piloted from the survival brain without even knowing it. If you're not where you want to be, you're in survival brain. You might not be, I'm scared in the corner, I'm trembling. But you're not where you want to be because you're scared. And fear is winning over love. You are in, you're in fear instead of fulfillment. And so every single thing comes down to fear. If you weren't afraid, you would be vulnerable, open, and you would have no problem navigating conflict in relationship. If you didn't have fear, you'd approach anyone and just say exactly what you felt, and you'd probably call in your dream person if you haven't already. If you weren't afraid of fear, like if you didn't have fear, you wouldn't worry about going and doing a hard workout session. If you didn't have fear, you'd take massive, courageous action, go and just approach a publishing firm, publish a book in the topic that you're passionate about, leave your job, take a bunch of action, promote what you're doing from the rooftops, screaming it out there. You would be expressing yourself socially the way that you want to. And all of these blocks to our fulfillment and our authentic expression and us living the life that we want to live all boils down to fear. That's everything. But we spend all this time learning about different random things to do in the personal development space. But at the end of the day, whether or not you live your dream life is going to be based upon whether you have the ability to navigate fear or not. And that's why this whole modality, the core method, core being the Latin root word of courage, it's the courage method, and core meaning heart in Latin. It's the heart, the courageous heart method, essentially. It's the capacity to navigate fear, not just in the context of purpose, though, in every moment, so that you can live your most fulfilling life in personal life, inner peace, relationships, across the entire board, it all boils down to this. And so when you learn to navigate fear, which is what I teach at the workshop, and you can go out there and you can be courageous and you do what you want to do in your world and you can be who you want to be in the world, that's where fulfillment comes from. That's where your dream life lives, on the other side of fear. All right. And that's what I'm playing around with. That's what I'm teaching at the Core Method workshop. It's not how do we go into a bunch of fear challenges and public, like putting you in really uncomfortable public social situations. It's about understanding the way that you're wired so that you have awareness of what's actually happening and you're not reactively living to avoid fear without being aware of it, because you are. I forget every day. I reactively live from fear every single day in some portions of the day. Probably more time in fear than I do in love or freedom or fulfillment every day, because it's how we are wired, and that biology doesn't change. Our ganglia doesn't just like shed the sympathetic nerve cells that fire to try to keep us safe. No, we are literally have a David and Goliath battle of fear versus fulfillment. And this modality is all about, well, how do you navigate that so that you can still live your dream life, still actualize your most fulfilling, inspiring, connected, peaceful, confident, adventurous, exciting, purposeful life? How can you create that even though this is the truth? Think about it. If you didn't have fear, where would you be in your life right now? Where would you be? You'd be exactly where you want to be, right? You'd have all the things that you want to have. You'd experience all the things that you want to experience. So why is that not the case? Because fear exists and you don't know how to navigate it, because no one talks about this. And I do, because I have been particularly scared in my life, because I've had a particularly tough upbringing, and it's been particularly challenging for me to go to school without getting bullied and feeling deeply insecure. It's been particularly scary for me to talk to girls and learn to socialize. It's been particularly scary for me to believe in myself. It's been particularly scary for me to do all the basics. So I've had to double down and learn how to be courageous. And I can tell you, the reason that I built a multi-million-dollar business in my early 20s, mid 20s, was because I was willing to experience fear and learned how to navigate fear. I just didn't know how to do it in terms of character, my deep self-worth, and I didn't know how to do it in connection. I didn't know how to do it in the other areas of life, and I had massive blind spots. But now that there's spirituality, emotional healing, personal development work, career, relationships, how do we integrate this all? The Core Method. So if this is resonating with you and you're hearing what I'm saying and it feels like you can, if you're resonating, come along to the workshop. This is my fulfillment. This is what my life's work is about. Teaching as many people as possible how to live their most wholesome, fulfilling, empowering lives. You have a dream. Your dream is possible. You are worthy. You are enough. The only thing that's holding you back is fear. And I would love to support you to bring it all together. Most of the time, the people that I help are actually really advanced personal development thought leaders, because if it doesn't matter how much personal development you learn, it's very difficult to integrate it. It becomes more confusing on the journey. And then I also work with people on this topic that are brand new to personal development that can just, instead of spending 10 years being confused or, oh, this is a clarity. Oh, shit, it doesn't all boil down to this. Damn it. Now I'm confused again. I learned this, but that's contradictory to that. But it's kind of working in the short term, but then, oh, I'm not achieving this. And it's like constant lack of integration. If you can learn this and you're new to personal development, it's like God or the universe wants you to feel fulfillment sooner. And that is a blessing. If you're a coach, this is going to blow your mind. Bottom line is, this will change your life if you're ready to live your most fulfilling life. And it would be an honor to support you at the workshop. So check out this page. If you have any questions, just send me an email, ryan@ryanmagic.com. Go down, grab your ticket. It's going to be a massive few days that will have you go through a death and rebirth. You will have to let go of a lot, but you're going to gain everything. I can't wait to change your life, beautiful soul. Go find out the rest of the details on this page. I love you. I'm here to serve. Come along. And that's it. Peace out.